All right, we are live.
All right, I'm mailing.
All right, I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, you still need to operate this thing when we get going, Adam.
Yep.
All right, cool. I just mailed, so people are gonna start coming in.
How many
But yeah, man. So
How many are anticipating today?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, I never really know until people show up.
Okay.
But yeah, man. So on that Monday, we'll be filming at the South West Tennis and Learning Center.
Okay. What time do we start?
What time do you want to
Okay, you
start?
tell me.
All right, let me I have to coordinate with the guy there. He said we could film. He just didn't give me a time, so I gotta. It'll probably be like, let's say, 10 or 11
Okay,
a.m.
that sounds good. So I can leave. Yeah, let's miss the traffic. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And how many hours are you anticipating taping?
Oh, if we're fast, maybe 3,
Okay, no problem.
3 to 4.
Okay.
We just need to get through. We need to get through those like couple videos and a few other non-instructional things, but sort of like segments where we're reading off a teleprompter. At least I'm reading off a teleprompter.
Okay, so then you can
Those
tell
are
me
like,
what to do.
yeah, it's super easy, dude.
Okay.
We've got 4 people. We've got 6 people. We've got 7 people. What's up, everybody joining just now? Say hello in chat.
Can you hear me?
Yep, got you.
Wait for it. Yeah, can you hear me?
I had you before, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had myself muted, I believe, or my speakers muted.
Cool. Is that Lauren?
Yes.
Cool.
We have 12 people already in the chat.
Feisal, are you showing a YouTube video? I can't remember if you said you were going to do that or not.
No, it's going to be embedded in the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Adam and I went over. It was good.
Oh, you guys did? All right.
Yeah.
Not of the loop.
There may be a little bit of frame chop on the video live from Faisal's thing, but it's a little unclear to me how to get the YouTube thing working. I mean, I tried it earlier, and I tried it again on another test broadcast, and it wouldn't work.
Oh, we can just post it. If it's a little choppy, we can just post the link. Tina, what's up? She says aloha.
Gotta go back to my chat box.
There's 2, Adam. There's 2 chat boxes. There's the top one on the left, and then like if you click on the Webinar Jam icon with like the lightning bolt,
Correct.
that one brings up the Webinar Jam chat.
Yeah, the Webinar Jam is the public one. The 3 of us are the only ones that see the...
Oh, the other chat, got it.
Mhm.
Oh, interesting.
What Webinar Jam does is it essentially builds a really lightweight web page where people they log in, and then there's essentially a YouTube player that's embedded on the page with a chat box embedded on the page. That's how Webinar Jam works. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I know it operates off of Google Hangouts, obviously.
right, but people that are attending Webinar Jam only see the one feed that's the master feed. They don't see the 3 icons of people down below here.
Oh, they don't see the 3 icons below?
Correct.
Huh, interesting. So it's literally whoever's toggled.
Correct. That's why I have to, sometimes when you guys go back and forth really rapidly, I'm trying to switch cameras to you guys and end up missing something.
Yeah, no worries. What's up, everybody's joining. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes or so. Let folks trickle in. Chris, the weather here is cold.
And windy.
Unfortunately, yeah, cold and windy. It's sunny in Florida, so thanks for rubbing it in.
What part of Florida are you in?
Luckily, Chris, I go to San Diego on Monday for about a week. Hey, Richard. 70 in San Francisco. Chris hasn't told us what the weather is in Florida yet. If anybody's going to Indian Wells, the BNP Paribas, is it Adam? Is it Paribas or Paribas? Paribas Open, I think.
Paribas, you don't pronounce the S.
We'll be there the 9th through the 23rd of March, so let us know. You're not going, are you, Feisal?
No, I'm not going now.
Just come hang out, man.
I've been away for a while, that's why.
Yeah, you have, actually. Yeah, that's true. Weren't you in California or Los Angeles?
Yep, I was there last weekend. It was nice. Weather was nice there.
What conference was it again?
The California USPTA convention.
Okay, it was USPTA.
Yep.
Gotcha. Chris is in Sarasota, apparently, Adam.
Okay.
Richard, cool, man. Richard's coming to Indian Wells. We'll be there the 9th through the 23rd. If you want to come hang out at La Quinta on March 11th, we're shooting with the Bryan brothers again. So we'll be on the center court there. It's Wednesday. Don's coming to Indian Wells. Chris says 68 and sunny in Sarasota. It's basically exactly the same in Richmond, right, Feisal? Just like cold and windy.
Cold, freezing. Oh yeah, very windy. It actually snowed here today.
Yeah, it did a little bit here too.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar's in Hilton Head. Doesn't seem like it's much better, 57. Debbie is in Bloomington, Indiana. I can imagine it's pretty rough out there. Rosa says, Feisal, she's been teaching tennis for over 40 years and is learning a lot from these lessons, and it's fantastic info to pass on to her students.
Well, thank you, Rosa. Hopefully today will be helpful too.
Yeah, I'm excited. Visual training system, it's new to me. Pat is coming from Silicon Valley. Oh, so Richard, you're going to be at La Quinta already playing doubles. Yeah, so we're going to be filming. I don't know what time we'll be with Bob and Mike. I got to coordinate with them, but I would assume probably around 11 o'clock in the morning, something like that. 15-inch snowing in Boston, 13 in Chicago, down to 0 tonight for Dennis. Guess we can't complain too much. All right, we'll give about 1 or 2 more minutes, 6:59, and then we'll get started.
Muted.
Did you just lose me? Adam.
Unmuted and unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. No, but did you lose? I don't see. Can you still see me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, maybe it's just like my thing disappeared. That was weird.
Did it just happen again?
It's just my little box doesn't show me anymore, but maybe I'm losing my mind and it was never there in the first place. Everything else seems to be working fine. All right, Feisal, you all good, man?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Adam?
Yep.
All right, well, in that case, let's get going. I want to welcome everybody to this bonus training session with Feisal Hassan on his visual training system. So basically how you can, well, Feisal, I don't even know how to describe this. Let's see if I can do it properly. Get better at watching the ball so you can anticipate what's going to happen sooner on the court, kind of maybe a little crystal ball training, something like that.
Correct, and that's for the hitter and the non-hitter, both players.
Gotcha. Well, I don't think I need to. Well, I don't have anything else to tee this up with, so I think I'm just going to kick it to you, and we'll let you take it away.
Okay. Sounds good. Waiting for. Okay. Give me the control, Adams. Okay, there you go.
Got it now.
All right. How do I open up here? Oh, there you go. All right.
We didn't lose Feisal here, did we?
Nope. You guys see that? Everybody got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All good?
Yep.
Perfect. Oops. What happened there? Just lost it. Hold on. Is that good? You guys see me?
Yep. Just got to maximize it, but otherwise you're good.
All right.
There we go.
All righty. All right, everybody. I'm excited. Training the visual system in doubles. Let's get started. The dilemma. When watching doubles, this is from a coaching standpoint, it's amazing at how inefficient and ineffective players' eye tracking movements are. Players, I feel, move their eyes in such a way that there's too much wasted eye movements. And because of the wasted eye movement, there's a lot of loss in reaction time, balance, and control. However, these eye movements can be trained. Da-da-da. That's what we're going to do today. Overview of shot making. The way I like to break technique down is there's 4 stages to shot making. Number 1, you got to see the ball or watch the ball. Once you see the ball, you got to move your feet to get in position to hit the ball. Once you're in position to hit the ball, stage 3, you need balance to hit the ball solidly. And then the 4th stage is you need to be able to control the swing of the racket. So those are the 4 stages of shot making. What we're going to do in today's webinar is talk about stage 1, watching the ball in doubles, both the hitter and the non-hitter. So that's today's objective. The goals today, we will train doubles players how to improve their performance by enhancing their eye movement sequences and eye tracking skills. Second thing we'll achieve today is to develop better court awareness skills for the non-hitters in doubles. So those are the 2 things we're going to accomplish today. To train doubles players how to improve their performance by enhancing this eye movement sequences and eye tracking skills. That's because the eye, like the muscles in our bodies, can be strengthened to perform better with exercise. By seeing better, one can play better because what and how you see is what and how you will do. This webinar will involve a set of exercises broken down into doubles positions and what eye movement sequences and eye tracking skills are required for each doubles position. By training these eye movement sequences and eye tracking skills, players have noticed that it has improved their movement, balance, and court awareness skills because it has maximized inefficient functions of the head and eye. According to tests and research, when someone turns his or her head excessively, it causes conflict in the brain. Since the brain's highest priority is to regain balance, it momentarily shuts off visual input until the body stabilizes. This function also determines how well you coordinate body movements. To develop better court awareness skills for the non-hitter in doubles. When does a player really have to watch the ball? Before getting ready to hit the ball. That's when you need to watch. In doubles, there's only one person hitting the ball at a time. And what do the other 3 players watch? As players, we are constantly told to watch the ball. Have we really been given sound advice to the other 3 non-hitters? For example, in basketball, there is only one player who has the ball. What do the other teammates watch? They are trying to develop awareness of what is going on around the court, i.e. court sense. So that's the non-hitter's focus today. What's happening on the court? To see what's happening on the court, or what could happen on the court, one must focus on what I call triple vision. 3 things to focus on. The ball, you, and the opponent. That's triple vision. Ball, you, and the opponent. You could mean your partner also. So ball, you, or your partner, whoever's getting ready to hit, and the opponent. And you've got what I call hard focus and soft focus. I'm going to explain those. When the ball's come, so what are the visual priorities? When the ball's coming toward you, your priorities are the ball, you, and then the opponent. When the ball is traveling away from you, your visual priorities are the opponent, the ball, and then you. So ball coming toward you, ball, you, and then the opponent. Ball going away from you, it's the opponent, the ball, and the you. Right. In terms of the ball, tracking anticipation, we can explain that. In terms of the player, which is you, that's understanding your comfort zone, feeling and listening to how you feel your comfort zone is going to be. In terms of the opponent, understanding the opponent's comfort zone awareness. When we spoke about comfort zone awareness, we talked about positioning, balance, and strike zone, which we've actually spoken about in previous webinars. Right. General eye movements. What we're going to address right now is you're the player getting ready to hit the ball, and the ball is traveling toward you. So right now, I've hit a ball, and it's traveling toward you. You're getting ready to be the hitter. Let's talk about tracking skills when the ball's coming toward you. Tracking skills when the ball's coming toward you, there's 6 types and levels of exercises to strengthen the eye muscles to perform better. Level 1, head positioning. Level 2, dynamic visual acuity. Level 3, eye tracking. Level 4, eye teaming. Level 5, peripheral vision. Level 6, eye-hand coordination. So that's the vision training program I use. These are the 6 levels. I'm going to explain each level. I'm going to show you some drills on how to train each level. So you do all these levels, you're now strengthening your eyes to watch the ball when the ball's coming towards you. Before we get into the 6 levels, let's talk about the observations of watching the ball. The analysis of ball watching is the creation of 2 separate ball watching functions. Part 1 is physical, part 2 is mental. I'm going to explain those. Part 1 is the physical ball watching, or what I call the zooming. As the ball is coming toward you, it has 2 flights, flight 1 and flight 2. From the time your opponent hits the ball to when it bounces on your side of the court is flight 1. From the time the ball bounces on your side of the court and when you're getting ready to hit it is flight 2. So let's break down flight 1 and flight 2 into tracking and cubing. So zooming in on the ball, part 1, involves tracking and cubing. I'm going to explain each one. Part 2 is the mental aspect of watching the ball, getting the mind to be aware of what the eyes are seeing, and then interpret that stimuli and attract and direct an appropriate response. It's your mind's eye. So as the ball's coming toward me, I'm physically watching the ball, flight 1 and flight 2, and my mind's eye, the mental part, is picking up and interpreting the stimulus and then focusing on a direct response. Example, if you read a paragraph in a book, that's physical, just reading the paragraph in a book, and then realizing you have no idea of what your eyes just looked at because your mind was somewhere else. So you're reading the book, that's the physical aspect of seeing, reading the paragraph, and then the mind has to interpret and understand what you've just read. So that's what we mean by part 1 and part 2. Level 1, head positioning. The purpose of this level is to help players identify and feel the head positioning during strokes. General head positioning and the dominant eye. I think most of us know this. The head should remain above the center of gravity, above your belly button per se, and relatively still at all times. The more your head is over your center of gravity, the more efficient your visual tracking, balance, strokes, and recovery. If the head gets too far off the center of gravity as you move to the shot, you will have difficulty hitting in balance, control, and recovery. Here's some exercises to train ensuring the head position is above the head and the head's not moving. I'm going to just quickly talk about this, and I'm going to explain each drill visually and verbally. First drill is the upside down cap or folded towel drill. The brim drill, see the blur drill, play drill, baby powder drill, cone volley drill for volleys, outfielder drill for serves. So these are drills I'm going to be going over just now, how you train the head positioning. Easier said than done. Keep the head above your center of gravity and keep it still. These are drills that will help achieve that. Upside down or folded drill. You can feed balls. You can have a coach, a friend of yours, feed balls, and you can have a cap upside down or a folded towel on your head. And as they feed the ball to you, you've got to hit balls, ensuring that the upside down cap or the folded towel does not fall off your head. What this is focusing you on doing is keeping that head still. So that's the upside down or the folded towel drill. Second one is the brim drill. To help a player keep the head positioning forward, put on a baseball cap. So you got the brim of the cap facing forward. When moving to the side, ensure the brim of the cap is pointing to the net. So let's say I fed you a forehand, and as I'm feeding that ball to you, I want to make sure I can see the brim of the head facing toward me versus the side. Because if the brim is facing to the side of the court, your eyes are to the side versus facing forward. Third drill, see the blur drill. Keep your eyes locked onto the contact zone until, if you take a swing with your racket and you keep your head down, you can see the blur of the racket go by you. So keep your heads locked onto the contact zone until you see the blur of the racket come through. This goes for all the strokes. By the time you see the blur go by you, the ball will be gone and there will be nothing you can do to mess things up. So by seeing the blur of the racket go by you, you're keeping your head still. So upside down cap, brim drill, see the blur, is actually keeping your head still. These are drills you can train to keep your head still. A play drill you can do, let's say I'm playing with Will, we're playing some points. I put a pencil on my ear, or both ears. You can put a pencil on each of your ears, and Will and I will play points where our goal is to make sure the pencil doesn't fall at any time. So Will and I will play some points with pencils on our ears, and whoever's pencil falls anytime during the point, the opponent wins the point. So that's another drill to make sure you keep your head still, but while you're actually playing. So that's more of a play drill. The last drill which I'm going to visualize is the baby powder drill. Place some baby powder on the ball. At the point of contact, after you hit the ball, watch the powder come off the ball instead of moving your head at the point of contact. So I think I've got a drill to show. Here's the baby powder drill. Okay. Right here. Boom. So right there you saw that we actually put some baby powder. This is a clay court. We put some baby powder on the ball. The ball was fed to Greg. Here's the bounce. And as he hits, he's keeping his head watching the powder. Let me demonstrate again. Baby powder drill. Watch his head. As he hits, he's focusing, keeping his head on the baby powder. A good way to keep the head still. So those are the drills we've discussed for keeping the head still. Upside down cap, brim drill, see the blur, play drill, and the baby powder drill. That's for level 1, keeping the head still. Other one is a cone volley drill, where you should keep the head. The emphasis of this is keeping the head at the same level as the racket head. So here's the drill. You hold a cone with the palm of your hand side facing toward the incoming ball. So you've got the cone, the open end of the cone, facing toward the incoming ball. What you can do is take the cone, it needs to be a very flexible cone, put it in the throat of the racket. So you've got your racket, you've got the cone in the throat of the racket, with the open end facing toward where I'm going to feed the ball. As I feed the ball to you, try to catch the ball in the cone. And later on, as you get better, I could say cone or string. So if I toss the ball, if I say cone, catch the ball on the cone. If I say strings, quote unquote, catch the ball on the strings. So that's the cone volley drill. The last one, as far as keeping the head still, is what I call the outfielder drill for serves. I could have you like a baseballer having the non-dominant hand. So I'm a righty. My left hand has a cone with the open end facing upward, and pretend I'm catching the ball. So when I toss the ball, okay, or a ball is tossed to me, the ball should fall right in my cone. So it's like an outfielder in baseball trying to catch the ball. What this does is, we've all been told, keep your head up when you're serving, when you're hitting overheads. Well, if you have this cone in your non-dominant hand like an outfielder, by keeping that non-dominant hand up, it naturally keeps the head up. So those are two drills to keep your head in position for volleys and to keep your head up on serves or overheads, the outfielder drill. So those are drills for level 1 head positioning.
And Faisal, if I could jump in for a hot second, just two thoughts as I was taking notes on what you had to say. The first, the upside down cap drill, the very first one you talked about, reminded me of the sort of when you got trained to have good manners, you'd put a book on your head and walk around.
Yep.
You know that one? And then just generally with any of these drills and the video you showed, I think for all the folks watching, this is really an opportunity where videoing yourself hitting really will show you if you're keeping your head still as you hit, or if you're pulling your head and your eyes off of contact prior to hitting the ball.
Awesome. Sounds good.
That's all I got.
Okay. Continue.
Yep.
Right, level 2, dynamic visual acuity. Now, once again, we're addressing when the ball's coming towards you as the hitter. Right, level 2, dynamic visual acuity. The purpose for this level is to help players see the ball more effectively and efficiently while the player and the ball are moving. Tennis is a dynamic sport where you got to move, while you've got static visual acuity and you've got dynamic visual acuity. Tennis, being a movement sport, like I said earlier, involves dynamic visual acuity, meaning you got to be able to see the ball while you're moving and the ball are moving. So what drills can we do for dynamic visual acuity? The near far eye jump, the 2-ball rally, and the reaction go. These are 3 drills I'd like to demonstrate and show you for level 2, dynamic visual acuity. First one, the near far eye jump. The purpose of this drill is to change focus quickly and accurately from a near point to a far point. So in tennis, you focus on the opponent's side of the court, all of a sudden you bring it back to your side of the court. Here's the drill. Place one tennis ball 4 inches or less away from you. Place the second ball 2 to 10 feet away from you. Right. What you want to do is look at the ball close to you, then the far ball, and back to the target, near target. So you're going back and forth. Make sure to focus your eyes on each ball before looking away. So that's what we mean by the near and the far jump. So start off with the near 4 inches ball. The minute you focus on that, transfer it to the 10 foot. So you're going 4, 10, 4, 10. Do 30 to 40 near to far eye jumps or continually for 3 to 5 minutes each day. It's an exercise you can do off court, obviously. Signs of improvement. Your focusing becomes easier. The speed or the number of jumps in the allotted time increases. When this happens, move the second ball further away. So that's the near far eye jump. Definitely train the muscles to go from near to a near point to a far point. The near point in this drill is a ball about 4 inches away from you. The far point being 10 feet away from you. As you get better, like we said, you can start moving that second ball further away. That's really teaching you dynamic visual acuity. That's the first drill. Second drill is a 2-ball rally. Each player has a ball in their hand. On go, both players feed the ball cooperatively. Players rally with 2 balls in play with ground strokes or volleys. I'm going to demonstrate that. So right now, I've got both these players using mini tennis. They've got a ball in each hand. On go, they both will feed a ball, and they're trying to keep 2 balls in play. You all see that? Right there, they kept 2 balls in play. Let's show that again. All right, they feed a ball, 2 balls in play. Right there. As you get better, you could move further back. As you get better, you could do the volley, 2-ball volley. Right. Third drill for dynamic visual acuity, reaction go. Player has their back toward the coach or a fellow player. On go, the student turns around and coach feeds and hits either a ground stroke, volley, and overhead. You could start a play drill with go, and then continue playing. So I'm with Will. Will's a student. He's got his back toward me. On go, he turns around. I feed a ball at random, and you could play the point out. So that's that. Right. Next level. Once again, we're talking about ball coming toward you, and you're getting ready to be the hitter. Eye tracking, level 3. The purpose for eye tracking is to develop the ability to follow a moving object smoothly and accurately with both eyes. This is the way the eyes and the brain works. Each eye picks up an image. So let's say I'm looking at the ball. My right eye picks up the ball. My left eye picks up the ball. Each eye then sends the message to the brain that then makes a three-dimensional connection to that. So eye tracking is training each eye to be able to track that ball and working in sync. So eye tracking. 4 exercises I'm going to demonstrate. Number 1, call the ball drill, ball characteristics, call the bounce, get to know your navel, and flight 2 cubing. So eye tracking exercises, these are the 4. First one, call the ball drill. This involves reading the ball trajectory before and after the bounce. Let's focus on zoom. This involves as the ball is coming towards you, we are told, watch the ball. We've been told, watch the ball. Watch what of the ball? Are you watching the height, the depth, the direction, the spin, or the speed? Teach your players, all of you should get used to using command or trigger words to help you identify the ball characteristics. And I encourage all of you to shout out a specific word. So for example, we talk about height, depth, direction, spin, and speed. So let's say we want to work on height. Your trigger words could be high, medium, or low. So let's say you play against a moonballer and you're having a hard time reading the height of the moonballer. So you could break this down, and I'm going to show you later on, the blue and the green as low, medium, and high. Have players focus on the net height clearance based on how many racket lengths the net is with respect to the zones. So everyone remember the zones? Okay, zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is on your side of the court. Okay, I use the same colors. So if you're in, so zone 1, you want to be 1 racket length away, height over the net. Someone's in zone 2, you want to aim 2 racket lengths over the net. Zone 3, 3 racket lengths. Zone 6, 6. So if I'm in zone 6, I want to aim 6 racket lengths away. So this will help a player get a feel of how high that ball is going. So once you've gotten the feel of that height drill, then you go with depth. So once you know the height, I want the player to call the anticipated bounce, predict where the ball is going to bounce. And there's a formula I came up with to help players that have a hard time with depth. Ball bounce zone +2 is where the player should be positioned. So this is Will over here. He hits a ball that I predict is going to land in zone 3. I've got to read that before the ball bounces. What that tells me is the ball bounce is in zone 3, +2, I should be positioned in zone 5 to hit the ball. So if a ball lands in zone 4, if I predict it's going to be landing in zone 4, I should be positioned in zone 6 to hit that ball. So here's the drill right here. I broke the court down. You can see the cones. From the net to the halfway line is zone 1. Halfway line to the service line is zone 2. Service line to the 60-foot or the 3/4 line is zone 3. 3/4 line to baseline is zone 4. Halfway from the baseline to halfway between the curtain is zone 5, and that's zone 6. So you'll see Corey over here. He's going to call out the ball bounce, and he's got to be 2 zones behind where that ball bounces. Let's take a look. So that landed in 3, he should be in 5. 4, he should be in 6. Ball landed in 4, he should be in 6. He was in 5. 3, he should be in 4. So notice he misread that. He said 3, then it was 4. So that's the depth drill. He had to call out where the ball was going to bounce, and then naturally be 2 zones behind the ball bounce. That's that. Next one, ball reading the direction. Break the court down into right. So you're over here. This is your right, the middle, the left lane. And players have to call out where the anticipated ball is going to bounce well before it bounces. A good drill to train reading the direction. So we spoke about height, we spoke about depth, we spoke about direction. Now we're going to go spin. Trigger words you want to use: top spin, top, slice, or side spin. Have players call out the anticipated spin by calling out top, slice, or side. Once again, we spoke about this earlier. If it's going over the Houston Astrodome, it's probably going to be top spin. We'd call out top. If it's going above, it's going to be underspin over the Empire State Building. So that's the spin. Speed. How do you read the ball characteristic of speed? Trigger words. Increase, maintain, decrease. Use this with respect to what the player or you have just sent. So here's an example. You sent a ball at 10 miles an hour. He sends it back. Then the opponent sends it back at 20 miles an hour. So excuse me, right. They send it to you at 10, 20. You send it at 10. That's a decrease. You send it at 20. They send it back to you at 20. That's a maintain. You send it at 20 miles an hour. They send it at 10. That's a decrease. So you've got to read the speed of the ball, increase, maintain, or decrease based on what you just send. If you send a ball at 10 and they send it to you at 20, that's a decrease. So, right, that's the deal with that. Any questions on that one? All good so far? Will?
Yep. There's one quick question. You can decide to answer it now or come back to it. Just a recap of the cone volley drill. There was one person who wanted a little clarification of that, but we can come back later if you're
sure.
Kind of going through your various things.
Okay. Save those questions in, okay?
Yep.
Call the bounce drill. Players start on the baseline, Will and I on the baseline. Player has to read the ball and call out whether they're moving forward, hold, or back, or side. So I've got to read. Will and I hit, and I've got to call based on where the ball's going to bounce. I've got to read it. Am I going to be moving forward? Am I going to be holding or staying back or staying put? Am I going to be moving backward or am I going to be moving sideways? So those are trigger words: forward, hold, back, or side. This helps them read the ball bounce on their side of the court. Play points out. If they don't call it out or they call the wrong movement, they lose the point. So you could actually do this in a drill or you could do it in a play situation. Get to know your naval drill. A common cry from players is, "I'm always late getting to the ball." In research conducted by the late Vic Braden, they often tracked a player's eyes following an opponent's shot without a single step being taken. So people would just follow the ball and no step would be taken. It seems that many players like to know exactly where the ball will land before taking the first step. That's way too late. The way to solve this problem is get to know your navel. Whatever side of your navel your opponent's shot is heading, to the right of my navel, if I'm right-handed, it's my forehand. To the left of my navel, if I'm right-handed, it's my backhand. Get your unit turn. Unit turn, turning your shoulders, turning your hips, and moving to that side, taking one step in that direction. So get to know your navel. Ball going to the right of your navel, if you're righty, make the unit turn, take a step with the outside leg toward the forehand. If it's to the left of your navel, I'm a righty, it's a backhand, take a step in that direction. So that's get to know your navel. Flight 2, we spoke about once the ball bounces, that's flight 1. Now you've got to be able to center, zone it, or boxing or cubing it. I'm going to explain that one. Centering it, hitting the ball in the center of the racket. Call bounce when the ball bounces and hit when you make contact. Initially use an unstrung racket. So bounce, you're not going to be hitting, it's going to be going through the unstrung racket. Then you can use a strung racket and place duct tape on either side of the sweet spot, the top or the bottom. And if you make solid contact on impact, if the ball is centered, it'll make a sound. So centering drill, use an unstrung racket. If you swing through it, good job, you've made solid contact. Then you can get a strung racket, place duct tape on either side of the sweet spot. So as you make contact with the duct tape sound, you'll actually hear the sound. That sound telling you you've centered the ball. So that's flight 2. We spoke about this earlier. You got zone 1, which is from the ground to mid-thigh, low or strike zone 1. Mid-thigh to chest, strike zone 2, chest above, strike zone 3. So just before you hit the ball, or well before, you want to call out the zone you'll be making contact with. You could say low, good, high, strike zone 1, 2, 3. That's helping you zone it. Zone it so you own it. Third one is boxing it. Break your strike zone into a box or a cube that has height, depth, and width. If you notice this, It just has the height. You can break it down into the height, the width, and the depth. So you then have a cube. So that's a bit more advanced for people getting the strike zone. Is it too high, too low? Is it in front of me, behind me? Is it too far to my right, too far to my left? So I call this the boxing drill, or the cube drill. That'll help you cubing the ball in strike zone 2, in flight 2 as well. Right. Level 4, eye teaming. Purpose is to develop the ability to use both eyes together in unison. Like I said earlier, both eyes pick up the message or pick up the ball, and then each eye sends the message to the brain, and the brain makes a three-dimensional decision on what they see. Like eye teaming. In-out drill and the 4-quadrant drill for eye teaming exercises. You got players over here, a player at the net, right here. The coach feeds the ball from the baseline at random. I change the height, the depth, the spin, the speed. And I could have this player with earplugs on, your choice. The third player is on the baseline. They're the line judge. So as I feed the ball to this player, they've got to call out in or out. They cannot look past. This is a line judge who's going to confirm what this player's line call is. Okay, what this person's call is. This is a good way to train the eye teaming there of the eyes obviously working in unison. So the coach can change the speed, the height, the spin, the direction, the depth. This player here has to call in or out based on the ball as it's going past them. They cannot look back. This person here is just to guarantee what the line call was. So this player says in, player says was out. So it's a good exercise to train the in-out drill. The last one is you divide the court into 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the service box, 1 and 4, and you break that area right there. Players are going back and forth. You want the player calling out which quadrant they think the ball is going to land in, well before it bounces. So I'm the player over here. As that ball's coming over here, I should be calling it out, reading which quadrant well before it bounces. So that's working on the eye teaming of both eyes. So that's the drill. Level 5, peripheral vision. The purpose of this level is to develop the ability to maintain and interpret what is happening on the court in your side vision while attending to the ball. Earlier, one of my slides, I spoke about hard focus and soft focus. As the ball's coming toward you, your hard focus is watching the ball, attending to the ball, or specific central vision. Your soft focus should be looking at the periphery on your side vision. So here's some exercises to train peripheral vision when the ball's coming toward you. First one is the vacant feed. Second one is the vacant plane. Let me demonstrate. As the player is about to hit or close to the ball bounce, the player on the baseline side moves on one side of the court. Player has hit to the vacant court. You could do this drill with volleys, overheads, ground strokes, or passing shots. So vacant feed drill, I'm going to demonstrate this. So here you've got a coach feeding from back here. Here's the player. He's going to be hitting a volley. As he's about to hit, this coach is going to move to the right, to his right, or the left of the center hash. If the coach moves to his right of the center hash, that's the vacant feed. That's the vacant side. The player's got to hit to the vacant side of the court. If the coach moves to his left, that's the vacant side. He's got to hit to the vacant side. So let's see. Watch. He feeds the ball. He moved this way. Notice Greg got messed up. Watch. There you go. He went to the vacant side. Coach moved to the right. Greg went, bingo. Vacant feed drill. Boom. There you go. So there you go. Let's take a look at that again if you want. Vacant feed. Whoops. So he went the wrong way the first time. Boom. Boom. Went to the vacant side. Yep, he got it. He got it. So that's the vacant feed. The vacant play, great drill as a warm-up. I call this dingles. A bit of singles and a bit of doubles. Could have called it subbles. So D from doubles, Ingles from singles. Good for triple vision, ball, opponent, and your positioning. All 4 players are on the baseline. Players A and C are going cross court, hitting ground strokes. Players B and D are going cross court. Cross court rally. If one player misses the shot, she shouts dingles, and the ball that is left in play is played out between all 4 players. So A and C are going back and forth. B and D are going back and forth. D messes up the shot, he'll shout dingles, which means player A and C ball is now played out between all 4 players. So as players are going back and forth in the singles mode, they're using their periphery to see what's happening on the other side of the court. The minute they hear dingles, they then convert and play the point out. So 2 balls at a time, 1 ball going here, 1 ball going there. Someone messes up, you shout dingles, the 1 ball left in play, all 4 players play out. You can come up to the net, you can do whatever you want. Great play, good warm-up exercise. It definitely gets the eyes warmed up in terms of watching the ball, opponent, and your positioning. So great exercise for the vacant play. Level 6, eye-hand coordination. To train a player to effectively develop how their visual system guides the motor system. Notice it's not hand-eye coordination, it's eye-hand. The eyes dictate what the hands do, not the hands and the eyes. So eye-hand coordination. What exercises? I'm going to demonstrate eye-hand coordination for the serve, the return, ground strokes, and volleys. Serve. In-sync serve. I'm going to demonstrate this. A 2-ball collision, racket ball collision, and then serve with your eyes shut. So this is the progression I use to demonstrate to work on eye-hand coordination for the serve. The progression is a 2-ball collision, a racket ball collision, then serve with your eyes shut. Right now you've got all these players. They've got a ball in each hand. So all of them are right-handed. Let's call this the racket hand ball and this the tossing hand ball. So they have a ball in each hand, and you'll see them both, all of them toss the ball. They'll toss the tossing hand ball, and they'll try to throw the racket hand ball to try to make the ball collide. So watch, you're going to see some interesting moves here. They got a ball in each hand, watch here, and you're trying to make both the balls collide. Tough exercise, great eye-hand coordination. There you go. Notice Greg's balance over there, he's having a hard time. So 2 balls, and you're throwing that. Tough one. They haven't been successful hitting the ball. Greg hit the ball here. Take another look. 2-ball collision.
And I think everybody gets the gist of this. I certainly do. You cut out just very briefly audio-wise a couple times. So
Okay. Do I need to go back?
if somebody missed something or you dropped, just let me know in chat and I'll ask Feisal to repeat it. But I think we're good, Feisal, just keep going.
Okay. Right. Next progression is the racket ball collision. So we went with the 2-ball collision. Make sure you use an old racket. Don't use your new racket. So Greg's got a very old racket that's been abused. So as he tosses the ball, he's going to release the racket out of his hand, and he's going to have the racket collide with the ball. Watch. Once again, old racket.
How many old rackets do you have, man?
I've got a bunch, believe me.
Apparently.
So that's the racket ball collision. So first progression was 2-ball collision, where you actually had a ball in your racket hand. The reason I like this progression is you want them to have a loose hand and let that racket go. Not in a match, but a good drill. And the last one was obviously serve with your eyes shut. That's the third progression. Right. Eye-hand coordination for the return of serve. Racket handle return. Feisal cap drill. These all going to be demonstrated. The go drill. 360-degree turn. And the lay on your back. So first one will be the racket handle. I'm going to demonstrate that. Racket handle drill. You've got Greg returning serve. He's holding the racket on the throat of the racket. He's going to try to hit the ball off the grip of the racket. That's that. Okay. Next progression, visor kept down. So you've got Corey over here with the visor on his head. His head is down. The visor kept drill. He's got it down. On point of impact, as he hears the ball, he's got to lift his head up. So watch this. Head is down. Works on eye-hand coordination. Visor kept drill. Now you could do it in a drill or even a play situation. So after this, you can play the point out. So, okay, that's that. The go drill, like we said earlier, I think I used it earlier. So Greg has his back toward the server, and it's at some point when he hears the strike, you'll see, he'll make his move. He starts off with his back. As he hears the contact, he'll rotate around. Now this guy's been very nice at hitting everything to his backhand, to his forehand. There you go, he mixed it up, good. So that's the go drill. 360-degree turn and return a serve. So as the server starts his motion, Rick over here is going to do a 360-degree turn and return serve. Eye-hand coordination. So as the server starts his motion, I'll do a 360. So that's that. That's the 360 turn. Lay on your back, return a serve drill. So Greg is on his back. As the server starts his motion, he's got to get up. That's a tough one. All right, ground strokes. Eye-hand coordination. You could do this as a regular rally, or you could do it with mini tennis. After each hit, you switch rackets from one hand to the other after each hit. So probably with mini tennis, so you hit the ball with your right hand if I'm right-handed, hit the next one with the left hand. I'd probably try this with mini tennis. What you could do after that is, once you hit the ball, flip the racket, okay, toss the racket up, catch it, get ready. Third one you could do is, once you hit the ball, rotate around your body, going around the waist, maybe one time, and then get ready. Or you have a ball in your non-dominant hand, and I'm going to demonstrate this one. And once you hit, after each hit, you bounce the ball in your non-racket hand. Let me demonstrate. So ball bounce in non-dominant hand. So Greg is right-handed. He's got a ball in his left hand. So watch this now. Like, once he strikes it, two bounce. There you go. Once he hits it, 1, 2, track the ball again there. So 3-time bounce down. Greg had an easy time with the first bounce. So that was that. All right, volleys. The volley rally. Adam and I are both up at net, across the net, and we're volleying back and forth with each other, cooperative exercise. After each hit, so start off with holding the racket with your dominant hand on the grip. After the next hit, choke it up to the throat. When you hit it again, go down to the grip. So you're alternating, going from grip to throat after each volley you hit. Now, what is this good for? It emphasizes eye-hand coordination with respect to the point of contact, because your contact is changing. With the grip, okay, with your dominant hand on the grip, your point of contact is further away from your hand. As you go up to the throat, your point of contact is closer. So that's a good eye-hand coordination. It's also teaching muscle tension and relaxation. So just by switching from grip to throat, you're obviously relaxing the hands. Another option you could do is you can switch racket from one hand to the other after each hit. Take some coordination right there. The last option, which I'm going to demonstrate, is you volley, and after each, and you're actually volleying while you're hopping on one leg. So here's Greg. Switch racket from one hand to the other after each volley. Let me demonstrate this. Left hand, Right hand, so this is a basket feed drill. Getting used to eye-hand coordination. Alternating. That's that. Third one is volley rally, hopping on one leg. So that's what we have, right? What we just addressed up to this point is the hitter's eye movement through the 6 levels of eye training. So let's field questions for the hitter, and let's start getting into the non-hitter and the non-hitter's eye movement. So I'd like to field the questions that we had. There was one with the cone, yes? Will?
Yep, sorry. Yeah, the question was just, can you recap the cone volley drill back from the beginning?
All right. Start off with, I'm going to go a long version. Right. I'm a right-handed player. I take a cone. I put it with my palm. Okay, right. I'm now working on the forehand volley. I put the cone with my palm facing upward. And the open end of the cone is facing toward Will, who's going to feed me a ball. So as Will feeds me a ball, I catch the ball in my cone, okay, in the cone. Right. Next progression. It's got to be a flexible cone. I take the same cone, I get my racket, and I put the cone through the throat of the racket. So you got a racket now, you've got the strings at the top, and you've got the cone in the throat of the racket. Will's going to toss me a ball, and he's either going to say strings or cone. If he says strings, I make contact when he feeds me the ball with my strings. If he says cone, I've got to catch the ball in the cone, which is obviously in the throat of the racket. Does that help?
Yep. All good.
All right. Any other questions?
At the moment, no, but I think this is a good time to just cue people up. And if you have any questions with what Feisal has covered so far, just feel free to post them in chat, and I will field them. But you can keep chugging along in the meantime, Feisal.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Now, let's get into the non-hitter. It's my belief that the non-hitter has a harder time in doubles. Okay? Because the role of the hitter is just to run and hit the ball. With the non-hitter being typically physically inactive, his mind and feet can fall asleep, and he or she has nothing specific to focus on. Typically, the non-hitter's eyes are moving back and forth like a spectator watching a match. This eye movement causes the player to get confused and many times lose his or her balance. Therefore, the non-hitter has a tendency of lazy thinking and a wandering mind. Right. The role of the non-hitter is critical in doubles. He needs to answer 3 questions, and we'll train these. Number 1, where is the ball going to? Number 2, where are my opponents? Number 3, do I have time to get into better position? Number 1, where is the ball going to? Number 2, where are my opponents? Number 3, do I have time to get into better position? The non-hitter has to focus on his opponents while his partner is hitting, and use his peripheral vision to watch his partner as well as be moving. There's a lot of things going on for the non-hitter. How do we train this? The receiver's partner's eye movement. So Will is returning serve. Let's say he's on the do side. I'm on the ad side. A couple of things I need to know. Is the server coming in or is he going to stay back? Number B, know whether the serve is going to go in. C, the ball going past the server's partner. D, the ball flight of the returner's shot. And the 5th one is the opponent about to hit the ball. So that's where your eyes have to move. As the receiver's partner, as Will's about to return, I need to know, is the server coming in or is he going to stay back? Is the serve going to go in? Ball going past the server's partner. So there's a lot of eye movement going on. Let me show you what typically happens. The first drill, is the server coming in or staying back? Once the server has served, determine if she is coming in after the serve or staying back. Here's a drill. have a server serve, and have the receiver's partner call out as soon as possible as to what the server is doing. So you could say in or back. So right now, the receiver's partner is focusing on the server, coming in, staying back, and later you'll see why that's important. Right, next one. What's important is to know whether the serve is going to go in. A lot of times players, well, I'll go over this here, and the receiver's partner needs to look at the ball trajectory versus the ball bounce. They typically look at the ball bounce. A lot of times you can tell from the ball trajectory where the ball is going in. If it's going to be close, then you can look at the ball bounce of the serve going in the bounce. Players typically look at the serve bounce in the box when they could use the tracking of the ball to see if it's going in. Do the quote-unquote in drill. Player has to shout in the second they get the tracking cue of the serve going in. Once the players decide the serve is going in, then we'll talk about where they go to. So here's the drill. Players typically, this is what typically happens. Look at the serve bounce, then they go look at their partner. This is something you do not want to do. So watch Greg right here. So you've got somebody serving. This is the server's partner. This is the receiver. This is the receiver's partner. This is inefficient eye movement by Greg, the receiver's partner. Watch this. Watch again. So he's going to start. Watch him. Watch his eyes. He watches the ball bounce, then he looks at his partner, then he goes straight there. Inefficient eye movement. Watch again. Watches it bounce, turns around. See that? It's way too much motion. Let's try it again. That's what the non-hitter typically does. Watches the ball bounce. Watches his partner. Too much eye movement. Something you want to avoid. Avoid this. Watch again, one more time. Okay, that's something you want to avoid. So first one, the in drill. This player right here, this is Greg again. Imagine you're him right now. The minute he knows the serve is going in, he's going to use the hand signal. You need to see that. You need to going in. Watch how quickly it changes. He's reading the flight of the ball. All those are pretty obvious going in. So there's no need for Greg to look at the ball bounce. Watch this again. Obviously going in. He knows it's in. He knows it's going in. Only if it's close to the line does he look at the. So once he knows it's going in, he doesn't look at the ball because he knows it's going in. Then where do his eyes go? That's the next question. So know if the serve's going in. All right. The ball going past the server's partner. How do you know the ball goes by the net person? Watch the racket movement of the player. Do the point drill. I'm going to demonstrate. Read the opponent's racket. If the service partner moves his racket, the ball is going to him. If his racket doesn't move, it's going past him. With this visual cue, there's no need to watch the ball. When the ball goes by you, you don't turn around to see where the ball is. When the ball is lobbed over your head, that's right. Non-hitting players need to learn tracking anticipation. This involves reading the speed, height, spin, and direction. So here's this drill. So first one we did was Michael was serving. The minute he knew the ball was in, he gave us the hand signal. Now he's going to watch and predict where Corey's return is going to go. If Rick's racket moves, he's going to point because the racket's going there. If the racket doesn't move, he's going to point to Michael, telling him the ball's going there. So watch this. See, he pointed right there. He knew where the ball was going without looking at the ball or looking at Corey. The racket was moving. He's pointing over to Corey. Watch again. Serving is watching Corey's racket. Racket moved. He points over there. Come again. Ready? Watch again. Ready? Serves. Racket did not move. He knows where it's going to. So once you know the ball is in, so now you look at the ball bounce, your eyes immediately go to the net person's racket. The racket moves, you know he's going, okay, the ball's going to him. If the racket doesn't move, he knows it's going back to the server. So that's the point drill. Right, next one, the ball flight of the returner's shot. So Once he sees the racket move or not move, he knows where it's going. Now he wants to read the flight of the ball to predict. Right? Is it a high or low ball? The receiver's partner has to use their soft focus, this is their periphery, to predict if the ball of the if the flight of the return is going to be high or low. This is done by predicting based on the receiver's body and how high the ball is going to be. Example, high is above the head, low is below the belly button. So drill. Coach can stand beside the player just behind the tee and use a ball placed at different heights of the player's body. Player has to call out high or low. Then coach can go back and feed balls for this to determine. Options, if the ball is high, then the player is serving and coming in, they have to defend. If the player is staying back and the ball is low, they can come in. So that's the high-low draw. I'm going to draw for that one. So that's that. So once they know the ball is past this person, they've got to be able to use their side vision to predict if it's high or low. So Greg just noticed, for example, option 1, Michael is coming in. He's got that in the back of his head. He sees the ball is bounced, it's going in. He looks at Rick's racket. Rick's racket doesn't move, so he knows it's going to the server who's coming in, but he sees a high ball. Uh-oh, he better defend. Michael is serving. He notices Michael is serving and staying back. As he serves, he notices the ball's going in based on the trajectory. He watches Rick's racket. Rick's racket doesn't move. He knows it's going to Michael. He predicts using his side vision the ball is going low. He knows Michael can't do much because he's coming in. So that's the point drill. That's based on the flight there too. Flight. Right. The opponent about to hit the ball. The receiver's partner also needs to learn what is happening on the court. This involves reading your opponents by watching them comfort zone. We spoke about this last time, reading their positioning, balance, and strike zone using peripheral vision. This will help the non-hitter player assess what situation, defense, neutral, attack his opponents and his team are in. With the opponent who is serving and volleying and about to hit a volley, you don't have reaction time to watch his positioning, balance, and strike zone. Instead, watch the location of the racket. So Michael is serving and coming in. He notices the racket is above the net. Uh-oh, it's going to be a high volley. He better get ready to defend. He notices Michael is serving and coming in. His racket is below the net. He can now move in and get ready to attack or poach. So if you notice, these are the sequences we actually went with. All right, these are the questions. Is the server coming in or is he going to stay back? How do you do that? We did the drill. Know whether the serve is going to go in. That's reading the ball trajectory versus ball bounce. Is the ball going past the server's partner? How do you do that? Watch the server's partner's racket. If the racket moves, it's going to him. If the racket doesn't move, it's going past the net person. The ball flight of the returner's shot. I'm the receiver's partner. I've got to get a sense of the tracking of the ball. Is it high or low? And the opponent about to hit the ball, reading their PBS. So these are the eye movements. These have to be trained individually and then put holistically. So now at least the receiver's partner knows where the eye movement needs to go versus being the wasted eye movement that was demonstrated earlier on what not to do. It's this eye movement right here. So that's the receiver's partner's eye movement. Right? Server's partner's eye movement. So I'm the server's partner. Okay? Server's partner typically is watching the serve land in the box. My partner's serving, Will's serving, I'm up at net. Instead, they typically, that's what they're watching the serve land in the box. That's not your job to see if it's in or out. Instead, I feel this player should watch the returner's comfort zones, read their positioning, balance, and strike zone. That's what the server's partner is doing, is watching the returner's comfort zones, reading their PBS. Once the ball goes by him, the server's partner, this player takes 2 steps back. At this moment, once the ball has gone by, this player now focuses on the racket of the net player, using their periphery to watch their partner. We train that. Players typically at this movement turn around and look at the ball or their partner. So server's partner, as your partner is serving, watch the opponent's comfort zones. Once the ball goes by you, you take 2 steps back. If the opponent's PBS is off, we did this in poaching, you could have a good chance of a freelance poach. So that's the service partner's eye movement. Now let's get into specific situations. So after the serve and the return, this could happen. These players are up. These players are one up, one back. This player in the hot seat here has to watch the opponents. Now you got to choose. You're going to watch either the person closest to the net or you're going to watch the aggressive player. That's your call. Pick one player and watch the racket movement and the racket location. Okay, if the racket moves, you know it's going to them. If the racket moves and it's high, you know you're going to be dying. High, you die. The racket location is low. Low, you go. You could have a chance to poach. Or some players like this. Tell players to look at the center service line, because that way they'll have both opponents in their line of vision. So you got two options. This is a little bit more challenging. Most players I've had success with is teaching this, watching either the person closest to the net or the more aggressive player. So X and Y, I don't know X and Y, I've never played with them. I'd go with watching the player closest to the net because they could hurt you the most. Watch their racket, the racket movement and the racket location. As the match goes on, oh my gosh, X is really, really aggressive. They're the more aggressive player. Hot seat player, focus on the more aggressive player, focus on their racket movement and racket location. Or watch the center service line and try to get a feel of both players in their line of vision. So that's the non-hitter in the beginning mode. You're one up, one back, and the opponents are both up. That's that. So that's the non-hitter in that position. The non-hitter when you are both up and the opponents are one up, one back. In this situation, let's say player B is hitting the ball, I'm player A. I should be reading the the PBS or the comfort zone of the opponent about to hit the ball. Their positioning, their balance, and their strike zone. That's what happens in the non-hitter in this mode. The last mode, all four players are up at net. Let's say X and Y are picking on B, I'm A. What do I watch as the non-hitter? I do not have time to look at my partner. Things are going too fast. Once again, I've got that option of watching the person closest to the net or the more aggressive player. What are you watching? The racket movement and or the location of the racket. If the racket is low, I can go in. If the racket is high, I'm going to die. So that's what you're watching when all four players are up at net. So that is the presentation as far as the hitter and the non-hitter. I'm ready for questions. Let's go for it.
Awesome, man. That was great stuff as always. So we've got a couple questions. People have left. Obviously, folks, if you have a question, now is the time to post it into chat. But we are going to start with Scott, who just had a general question, which was, what frequency and duration of all these drills would you recommend to the player or a coach who is going to use this for his or her students?
You know, there's no way you can say, all right, today's our training session, we're going to work on training the eyes. No. You could use that's ridiculous. You know, it could be a warm-up exercise before your clinic or your match. It could be a cool down. So I throw these in periodically in my sessions to say, let's do vision today, level 1. Let's do this, level 2. It's too boring. So you could do it as a warm-up, as a cool down, or an in-betweener. I like to mix it up.
Cool. Jim asks, pro serves are typically measured over 100 miles an hour. Receivers seem to quickly determine whether to hit a forehand or a backhand. Where is the ball in the air when they decide whether to hit a forehand or backhand? Is the ball on the server side? Is it on their side? What characteristics are they looking for to help them decide? Before I kick this to Feisal, Jim, I just remember when I read your question, we have a shot of, I believe it was Gael Monfils, hitting a serve to Marat Safin at the 2007 Leg Masons, now the City Open, but it's in one of our videos. But basically the ball is at the net, and it's a 130-mile-an-hour serve. The ball is literally right at the net, crossing the net, and Safin hasn't even landed from his split step yet. So that'll give you an indication of how quickly you sort of have to decide. But with that in mind, Feisal, what are your thoughts there?
Velocity is distance over time. Okay? The faster the ball, It basically boils down to reaction time. Okay, reaction time is the time between when you pick up your first cue to when you make your first move. So speed is really reaction time plus movement time. What you're asking here is reaction time. I mean, ideally, you'd like to know as soon as possible, somewhere between when the opponent hits the ball to when it crosses over the net to when it bounces to when you hit it. So you've got that time from the time the opponent strikes the ball to when it bounces to try to pick up that cue. I mean, ideally, the sooner you can. Well, reality is with the human eye, the faster the serve, the more difficult it is. So unfortunately, I cannot give you a definitive answer. I'm going to say the sooner you can, the better. How do you measure sooner? That's a tough one to tell. That's a tough one. So I can't give you a definitive answer on that. At 130 miles an hour, I mean, that's tough to tell. So very ambiguous answer, but that's the best I can give you, sir.
Yeah, I think maybe my numbers are wrong here, Adam. I don't know if you remember this, but I think with 130 mile an hour serve, you have a third of a second to react or something like that. So it's basically the ball's bouncing and you have to figure out forehand, backhand, move, time it, all that good stuff.
Right.
So pretty tough. Doug asks, in the hot seat situation, should that player looking at the Y, I'm assuming, should that player be looking at the Y player because his partner should be hitting at Y?
Yeah, baby. Yes. Let me get there. Good. That's awesome. Now, watch this. Now, let me get to that. I love that. Who's this, Doug?
This is Doug, yeah.
Doug, you're the man, man. You are the man. Now, one of the first seminars, thank you, yes. Now, firstly, this guy's in position right according to Faisalitis doubles. He should be over here. Now,
what did you just call that? Faisalitis?
Yeah, Faisal. What? I just came up. I'm on fire right now. Okay, Doug's fired me up.
No, I like it. I like it. That was good.
Now,
keep going.
According to what we said, Doug the man, technically speaking, or geometrically speaking, the best thing player S needs to do is hit it to the same side. Correct. So with players I've trained, geometrically, HS, hot seat player, knows this person is phasalized and has been trained geometry-wise to go to this player. So yes, I have this player hone in on the racket of the same side player. Correct. Now, if someone isn't phasalized and doesn't know geometry says hit it same side, then you got these two choices. I'm glad you brought that up. You've made my night. Thank you, Doug. Because yes, so knowing the strategy and tactics, if these guys are phasalized, HS knows that S is going to go same side. So guess what? I already know who to look at. So go there. Now, with the same token, if S is totally struggling, hot seat player knows he's just trying to stay alive. Geometry says go over the lower part of the net. So movement-wise, HS goes to the T. And because S is on defense and going for the safer shot, I know he's going to go cross-court, and I can watch this person's racket. Awesome. I'm glad we're able. Thank you, Doug. I can't thank you enough that I'm now able to tie in the eye movement to the modes and phases we trained earlier in the rule the net sequence. Thank you.
And Faisal, we know at least one person has watched all of your videos.
It must be Doug.
It must be Doug, the only person who's watched it. All right. Another question, can you expand or do a quick recap of what cubing means? And are hitting zones for each player individual, sort of the comfort zones? Like, can you go over the comfort zones and cubing a little bit more and just talk about how that might affect just players individually? Some guys may be better with high strike zones, low strike zones, and so on.
Obviously, that's based on grips, right? So, here's the big picture. What we're addressing right now is you're the hitter, and you got flight 1, which is from the time Will, the opponent on the other side of the net, hits the ball and strikes the ball. That's tracking the ball. Flight 2 is from the time the ball bounces to when you hit it. Now, this involves court sense. So I use a couple of options when I train flight 2. Okay, I basically do the different levels. A starter player, I'd go with centering, then we go to zoning it, then we go to boxing. So this is the easy progression, 2-5, you could say 3-0, 3-5 plus, depending on the athletic ability. So this is training a player how to read the second flight of the ball. as they're getting ready to strike it, from the time it bounces to as I'm about to hit it. Centering it, we said, call bounce when the ball bounces and hit when you make contact. You can use the unstrung racket. Then you can progress with the racket and you place duct tape on either side of the sweet spot so you know you're centering, you're making solid contact. That's progression 1. Progression 2, as they get better, they need to be able to get in position to try to meet the ball in strike zone 2. So your goal is to get the ball in strike zone 2. Now once again, depending on the grips, I don't want to get too technical, this will adjust. So that's zoning it. And the third option is the cube. Okay, so if this is really one-dimensional, it's just talking about the height. The cube now, so if we did this, this is your ideal height of your cube. The width of the cube, I normally say, if this person was stepping in, hitting a ball, I'd go hip to hip. So you've got, this is the height of the cube. You've got the width of the cube, sorry, the depth of the cube, hip to hip, and you've got the racket length as the width. So let me see if I can draw this here. Good luck. Alrighty, probably not. So you got the width is probably that's wrong. Okay, this is the height, correct? Right here. That's the ideal. The width of the cube is probably going to be the racket. Okay. Then you got, so you've actually got a 3-dimensional cube as such right there. This is supposed to be a cube right here. Getting the gist of that? That's your cube. So your goal.
What did you score in art class in high school?
I never did that. That's why. So you're basically looking at the cube.
It's all coming into focus.
Makes sense or no?
That makes a lot of sense.
You're kidding me, right? Does it make sense? So it's 3-dimensional.
No, it makes sense. I'm making fun of your drawing.
Don't do that. I'm very sensitive. Okay, just do not.
My bad. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So hopefully that helped. Just kidding. Hopefully that helped. So that answer your question? So those are 3 levels to train flight 2.
Cool. So Dave asks, is there a way to read ball direction by anticipating, sort of reading your opponent's shoulder or feet and using that as a way to anticipate where they're going to go with the ball?
There's 3 forms of anticipation: tracking anticipation, situational anticipation, and technical anticipation. Today we're addressing tracking anticipation, reading the flight of the ball. We're working on training the visual system. What you're talking about later on, yes, could be reading the opponent's technique. This course is based solely on vision. When we said triple vision, reading the ball, self, and opponent. Now, yes, later on you can get into that. Shoulder rotation, positioning of the body, positioning of the racket on impact. Yes, that's another course in itself. This is focused more toward direction of the ball. So correct.
Cool. So Don says a lot of great options. Your recommendation do you have a recommendation as to general plan besides picking a few warm-up and cool-down drills to implement some of these for quickest results for a 4-0 player? So basically, where should a 4-0 player start to get the most bang for his buck?
All right. Well, at a 4-0, do you see players that typically change height, depth, direction, spin, speed? I would say at the 4-0 level, you see a lot of spin and speed, correct?
Yep.
I would start off with that. Now, you play, let's say tomorrow or on Saturday, I'm playing a moon baller. Well, I'm going to be expecting a lot of balls with height and depth. Train those. So my suggestion is I would train all 5, but go with specifically what you're probably going to be encountering. Okay, so at the 4-0, you probably see people hit a lot of spin and speed. Train those. At a 2-0 level, what are you going to be seeing a lot of? Height and depth. Train that. So hope that answered the question there.
Cool. We got one. So how here? This question might be a little general, but we'll run with it, and we can get clarification if necessary. How would you read an opponent's comfort zone?
one of the courses we did, let me see if I can find another PowerPoint. We actually did one, and hopefully they got them. We spoke about positioning, balance, and strike zone.
Yep.
And that's something we went in depth with. And whoever asked for it, have they seen that stuff? We actually spoke about that in, I've forgotten which one it was. So it's
I think it was the first one, but I think we touched on it repeatedly. So
yes. So I didn't want I had 80 slides today. I was thinking of putting the PBS in, but that's another 90 slides. So I would go back to looking at the other webinars, and I think those are pretty self-explanatory, especially when we spoke about, there you go, when we spoke about poaching, we spoke about positioning, balance, strike zone. So I'd go to the poaching webinar and catch up on that. And if you still have a harder time getting a feel of that, email Will, and he can send me the stuff, and I'll touch base with you. But I think the poaching at one really went in depth, and I think playing against the poachers too. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was the last question as far as I saw. I'm going to give people a hot second to fire off another couple questions if they want. But actually, here we go. Cool. Scott came in. Perfect timing. So Scott says, Faisal, love all this information. So much of it is really needed and eye-opening to me, but I need some time to process and incorporate it. I'm more familiar with Pat Blaskauer's Art of Doubles, where she talks about geometry. If you're familiar with her ideas, might you have a few things to say about where you and she agree or disagree and why? Thanks. Well, that was. Are you familiar with Pat
Blaskauer? I am, but not to the extent where I can. I know she talks close to close, deep to deep. I don't know enough to actually compare the two. So sorry about that. I don't know enough to comfortably say, these are the pros and cons. My suggestion: try what Pat suggests. Try what I suggest. Whichever one works. I don't know enough. Okay, I don't know enough about Pat Blaskauer to be able to say that. Sorry.
Cool. I'm just responding in chat real quick. Well, these are comments. What a fantastic group of videos, all caps, from Mary. So thank you, Mary. And that was the last. Yeah. What that is? I mean, so we'll give everybody else one more opportunity to submit a question. But in terms of what is it, short to short, deep to deep? That's sort of a general. You hear a variation of that one relatively often. What's your general take on, if you're at the net, you go at the net guy; if you're deep, you go deep?
Now, according short to short, deep to deep, just addresses positioning, correct? Based on PBS.
I'm not sure. That's a good question, because I always sort of, if you're back at the baseline, you hit at the baseline guy.
Right.
And if you're at, you try and hit the net guy.
Right. But if I'm close and I have a low ball and my balance is off, does it make sense to go short to short or close to close?
So well, no, that would be the wound versus kill.
Thank you very much. So I think short to short, close to close is excellent if it talks about positioning only. But it doesn't, in my mind, talk about balance or the opponent's strike zone. Yep. So that I think could be a premature answer to, the difference would be, I think short to short, close to close is addressing positioning only. But I'm close or short to short, close to close, but I hit a low ball and I'm off balance. So, and thank you. Almost. I mean, to me, I'd say close to close if you have a kill. If it's a low ball and you can't kill, it's a wound. Go close to deep. So that's where I think we could differ. But hey, if it works for you and you're successful, go for it. So hopefully.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's necessarily a commentary on Pat's stuff, which I'm not familiar with, and obviously you said you're only passingly familiar with it. Right. That's just just general advice, I think, in double. I've heard advice, whether it's phrased like that or some variation, for years.
Right.
On that particular tactic.
Right.
So Andre asks, any suggestion on how to break the habit of looking where I want to hit the volley instead of looking at the ball? And this is a common one for ground strokes too, is you're kind of looking to see where your ball goes before you even hit.
Yep. So typically you are scanning too early, right? See the blur drill is a good one, right? And the baby powder drill. So let me demonstrate. So let's say Greg has a tendency of getting his eyes over to his opponents too soon. So I'll tell him visualize, got baby powder on the ball, watch his head now. Once he hits, he's going to keep his head to imagine he sees the powder puffing out of the ball. So what's that going to force him to do? Stay at his contact point even longer. So that's one way you could do it. Okay. The other one is typically once you hit the ball, see the blur of the racket go by you before you actually transfer your eyes toward the opponent. So I would suggest the baby powder or the see the blur drill. That could be helpful.
Yep. No, those ones. The see the blur one, I think, is obviously easier to do in the sense that you don't have to kick a tennis ball in baby powder, but that you'll get a lot of mileage out of that drill. I've done a variation of that since about September, October, and it's really made a big difference.
Good.
So I would highly recommend everybody listening, try that. And Tim is saying Pat Blaskover, who, how do I pronounce Blasko? Blasko. I am impressively bad at pronouncing names. Teaches staggered positioning at the net versus both partners in the same depth at the net. Yeah, so that's something also. Faisal, I don't know if you're familiar with Brent Abel, who runs webtennis.com, and he's a real good dude. And he's obviously, if you look at his bio, he's won a ton of sort of USDA tournaments. But he teaches something similar where one guy will be a little bit closer to the net, the other guy will be a couple steps back to cover the lob. How do you feel about that staggered formation?
Okay, we went over this in one of the previous two webinars. To me, you can stagger, you can reverse stagger, you can hover, or you can smother. I believe any of those work. To me, there's nothing right or wrong in doubles. There's consequences. So here's an example. I'm playing against Adam and Will in doubles. They never lob. They've yet to demonstrate a lob. So those players typically have heavy balls and drive the ball. Would it make sense to stagger? Give it a try. If they're going down the middle, forget it. So the fact that they're not lobbing, you could go ahead and smother the net and play closer. So I'm all for that. I typically advise doing the stagger. So we're up at net, and this player could be in zone 1, and I could be in zone 2 staggering. Well, the reason we stagger is this person can be aggressive, and this person can handle the lob. Hey, if it's working, stick with it. Now, with the same token, we'll know Adam lob much. Well, why not go ahead and smother the net? Or they keep lobbing over my head, but they never lob over this guy's head. Well, go ahead and stagger. So I believe in stagger, reverse stagger, hover, and smother. Get good at all four. Come a match, you adjust based on what you need to.
If any of you ever end up playing Adam in doubles, every forehand he'll try and go for a winner, and every backhand will probably be a shank.
So then, based on him, you don't need to.
You got me good there. You got me good.
It could be a shank lob though, so you don't know if Adam's lobbing, but neither does he. So.
Okay. So hope that helped.
All right. Well, on that note, now that I've got my jab in at Adam, we're gonna wrap up. Mostly because we don't have any more questions coming in, but I want to thank everybody for taking the time to spend the time with us, listening and following on with Faisal's presentation. Amazing material as always, Faisal. And as always, I'm going to give you the parting comments before we sign off.
Okay. Thank you, all of you, for the opportunity. Will, Adam, thank you. You've got the series Rule the Net. Please take a chance to look at all the webinars. If you have any questions whatsoever, just contact Will and he will email, and I'll be glad to continue the communication. So it's not the end of the world right now. I'm open for any questions on that. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity. Let's keep in touch. Let's get your game up to the next level. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, guys, and I will be sending out an email with not only the link to this recording, the other trainings, and I've been doing that periodically, and I will also send out an email where you can submit questions. So I think the way to do this is for you all to put this stuff to the test, see how it works,
Exactly.
trial by fire, as it were, and then we'll follow up in a week or two with an opportunity for some Q&A. So with that in mind, thanks again, everybody. Have a great Thursday night, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thank you. Take care. Good night.